Trusted operating system. An operating system is considered to be trusted if it provides the following some of the services in consistent and efficient way, such as memory protection, file protection, general object access control, user authentication. An operating system's security requirements are a set of well-defined, consistent and implementable rules that have been clearly and unambiguously expressed. Before solving any problem, first we have to identify the different requirements. Now, to give the security to the operating system, first we have to identify what are the security requirements. Once you got the security requirements, which is a clear one and unambiguous one, then we have to build one model. To create a trusted operating systems, the designer of operating systems usually construct model of the environment to be secured. Using that requirements, we have to build one model which will give the secure OS. Then the designer compare the model with the system requirements and make sure that the overall systems are not compromised and degraded. Means this model will provide the full security and give the full requirements of the OS. After having a security model, the designer choose a means to implement it. Just selecting a model is not sufficient. We have to design that model and implement it. Our trusted operating system is actually based on two aspects. The first one is called as features and second one is called as assurance. Features means the operating systems have all the necessary functionality that is needed to enforce the expected security policy. Means it should provide all the functionality of the security policy. The second one explains assurance. The operating system has been implemented in such a way that it can be confident that it will enforce the security policy completely and effectively. Once the implementing the functionality, the assurance assures that the policy which is prepared should be completely satisfied. Next, some of the key features of trusted operating systems. The first one is user identification and authentication. Trusted operating system must require secure identification of individual users and each individual user must be uniquely identified. That means our operating system must be able to tell who is requesting the access to the object. If somebody is trying to access the object, it has to identify who is actually accessing it and must be able to verify the subject's identity. In other words, first we have to find who the access requester is. Then we have to verify that the requester is indeed he or she claims to be. Means the user should be a legitimate user. That authentication should be done in the first. The second one is called as mandatory access control. Mandatory access control means a central authority determines what information is accessible by whom, and the user cannot change access rights beyond administrator's privileges. The meaning here is the access control policy decisions are made beyond the control of the individual user of the owner of the object. If user create any file or user create any object, the user has no rights to delete or modify such objects. Only the central authority determines who can access the resource or object. The third one is called as discretionary access control. Discretionary access control means a certain amount of access control to the discretion of the object's owner or to anyone else who is authorized to control the object access. That means some authority is given to the owner who created that object. He can decide who can access that object. It is called as discretionary access control. The owner can determine who should have access rights to the object and what these rights should be. For example, he can give some permissions who can read that info, who can read that object, who can modify that object. Such privileges can be given to the other users, and that is given to the owner of that object. In a commercial environment, typically our DAC means discretionary access control allows anyone in the designated group. First, we are creating one group which contains multiple users, and all the users have the rights to give the permission who can access that object. The fourth one is object reuse protection. One way that a computing system maintains efficiency is reusing the objects. The operating system controls resource allocation, and as a resource is freed for use by other users or programs, the operating system permits the next user or program to access the resource. But reusable object must be carefully controlled such that there is no serious vulnerabilities. Now consider what happens when you create a new file. A space is taken from freed previously used space from the disk. Somebody already created file and deleted that file. That deleting means the data is not deleting from the disk. When you create a new file, the new file overwrites the existing data and remove that data from the disk. That previous data will be removed from the disk. The previous data which is created by the another users may still exist in the disk even though he deleted the file. So the attacker or a malicious user may claim for a large amount of disk space and then scavenge for sensitive data. This kind of attack is actually called as object reuse. To prevent the object reuse leakage, the operating system clears or sometimes overwrites all space to be reassigned before allocating the next user to access it. Fifth one is complete mediation. A trusted operating system must check all types of access to all types of objects, namely file, memory locations, system services, etc. It is inefficient to control access only to files. If the attacker will acquire access through memory or some outside port or network or some covert channel. That means you have to check each and every type of access, not only file. So it is called as complete mediation. Next, trusted path. One way for a malicious user to gain an inappropriate access is to spoof users, making them think they are communicating with a legitimate security enforcement system when in fact their keystrokes and commands are being intercepted and analyzed. What is the meaning of spoofing first? Spoofing means the users think that he is communicating with a secured system, but some malicious users created some interface between the legitimate server as well as the users in such a way that the legitimate users think he is communicating with the actual secure system, but he is actually using the interface which is provided by malicious user. So this malicious user asking for some personal informations like user ID, password, such private information will be asked, and the users entered that information in the form of commands. Malicious user receive all that ID information, password information. Once he got that information, the spoofer or the malicious user can use this bona fide entry data to access the system later on, probably with some malicious intent. Thus, for some critical operations such as setting password or changing access permissions, user want an unmistakable communication called as trusted path to ensure that they are supplying protected information only to legitimate users, not for the malicious users. That is called as trusted path. The next one is called as auditing. A security relevant actions may be as simple as an individual access to an object, such as file access, or it may be a major as change to the central access control database affecting all subsequent access. That means from database many users are accessing the data. Audit. A security relevant actions may be as simple as an individual access to the object such as file, or it may be a very complex like accessing some data from the database. From database many users can access the data at simultaneously. Accountability means maintaining a log of security relevant events that have occurred, listing each event and person responsible for addition, deletion and change. This audit log must obviously be protected from outsiders, and every security relevant event must be recorded. Audit log reduction. Eighth one is audit log reduction. If an audit record were to be created for every access to a single character from file and for every instruction executed, the audit log must be enormous. That means for every activity, if you create a log, it becomes very large log file. So it is very difficult for the administrator to do some analysis. It is very hard to detect. For example, if you open a simple Word file, it may create a dozens of temporary files. Every file creation and every file deletion, if you record it, it will make our log file very difficult to analyze. To reduce such difficulty, we are creating some system here called as audit log reduction. In audit log reduction, reduce the amount of volume of log data. Only that events which will relate to the security problems, only that information is or that activity is actually recorded in the log file. For that one we are using a separate tool called as audit log reduction. Next one is called as intrusion detection. A building of patterns of normal system usage and trigger alarm any the user seems abnormal. This is a new type of technology where it will create some patterns which is generated by a normal user. When a normal user try to access any resource, it will create some type of patterns, and that type of pattern is actually recorded by this intrusion detection system. And any other opponent tried to access resources with illegally, then this intrusion detection systems will give some alarm to the administrator. Okay, this is actually happens in the trusted operating systems.